All right. I think I still got some lurkers in here, so what's good with it, everybody? It's your boy AlsoTeeko. I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, women who are having to be single mothers this holiday season, welcome back to the greatest solo adventure of all time. This is Star Wars, the Archives podcast. And here's your host, AlsoTeeko. What is good, guys? Shout out to that PA, man. Honestly, that was incredible. But yes, it is the host with the most, and we're back ski on the block ski, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm really happy to be here. Episode 49. 49. That's nuts. That's incredible. I love that, and I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. If you're lurking, if you're watching, if you're listening, or if you're happening to hop into the chat and hanging out with us, thank you for being here. My name is AlsoTeeko, otherwise known as Trevor, and I absolutely love Star Wars. I want to preface that. First and foremost, Star Wars is so much to me, and there's a lot of rumblings going on right now pertaining to Star Wars. There's a lot of things that are happening in Lucasfilm. There's a lot of things that are going on in the fan sphere of the galaxy. Some of which we're going to talk about today. Things that we are going to go into, as you can see from the title, from the thumbnail. This is the Shattered Apprentice. So, unfortunately, for the peanut butter and haters out there, we're going to have a nice discussion about my book. We're going to answer any and all questions that we have. And we actually did a sit-down interview with Captain Pie, going over parts of my book, and I'm really excited for that. So without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. So to kick things off, we do have some news skis to talk about, give our POVs, and discuss things that we're feeling about. First and foremost, we need to pull up the Everything app, which I know you guys all love. Bunch of sickos. And we're going to pull up Star Wars. Really weird one here, too. Really weird one. We're going to go to the news screen. Oh, I thought I had it. Asus. There we go. So on the news screen, as you can see, right in front of me. Oh, it's locked. Let's make it a little bigger. Hickory, hickory, hickory dickory dock. And we're going to slide it down just the one. We're going to click on the big tweet. Let's bring my camera over too. We don't need to see the crap. Slide this over. Slide the camera over even more. I think that works. There we go. Bang. And I'm actually really hyped for this personally. Star Wars has announced that they're working with 036 Studio and CCG Lab to develop a brand new digital collectible card game where players can battle across the Star Wars galaxy. Gotta let my girlfriend know I'm live. I know she's asleep though, but it still remains, you know, still remains. And I'm looking up this 036 Studio. I want to see what they've made before. But I'm hyped for this. I'm really hyped for this. What have you made before? Touch hearts through game is their mission. What have you made before, though? I'm just curious. And so they've made DC Dual Force, but it is unavailable. Okay. Now we're going to look up 036. Yeah, DC Dual Force looks like a card game for DC. They released it in 2023. Mixed reviews on Steam. It's like you buy gems, of course. Every game's got in-app purchases. I think it's unavailable now. I don't think it's on Steam anymore. Can we vet that? Can we verify that? But these guys should also have a... I know this is just going to be a... It's an echo chamber. Here we go. Okay, we got some actual information. One of the few IPs that can compete at the level of Marvel Snap. 036 Studio is apparently a merger of a few studios which made Hatsune Miku Colorful Stage, a popular mobile game with about 20 plus million downloads. There's subsidiary of ByteDance, it seems, which is tied to Newverse, Marvel Snap's former publisher that got Snap launched to such big numbers. CCG Lab worked on DC Dual Force, which was quite fun mechanically, but had trouble getting off the ground, it seemed to me, in large part due to a lack of mobile presence. That could be a powerful team-up that has a great IP, good design bones, proven mobile development track record, and even proven publisher to support its launch. I like it. If it is, like, I play Galaxy of Heroes. We all play Galaxy of Heroes. Everyone on Earth plays Galaxy of Heroes. Right? Come back to me. As long as you can incorporate a play anywhere type of beat, whether you're at home, whether you're abroad, whether you're at work, you should be able to play the game that you want to play. And I think that that is the direction that gaming is going, especially with like the portability that's coming to the Steam box, to, I mean, the Steam Deck. And people love to play mobile games. People love to play mobile advancement games. People love to hate to play mobile advancement games. People love to hate games. People hate to love games. This could be a very fun game, and I very much dislike when YouTubers and streamers make videos on something that they're never going to cover in the first place, but just because it's related to the IP that they talk about in the first place. I very much dislike that. And you could see, like, with all those tweets and stuff, it was just a direct echo chamber, like, hey buddy, just retweet it instead. Unlike that Regis guy who gave a nice little breakdown, so shout out to Regis. I look forward to that game. If you know who AlsoTeeko is, you know he loves a mobile card game. I was thinking about making all of my videos public again too, which... it's a thought. It's definitely a thought. I've gave it a consideration. I'll think about it. Because mobile card games are so cool, especially when you play them. Free to play, free to play, free to play. And we need, like I said, Star Wars needs some love. Star Wars needs some mustard. Star Wars needs some reason. What girl? And I think that really does begin with games, man. Like, if you make a good game that can captivate new audiences, but as well as, you know, appreciate the audience that came before it, I think you could do vital and very massive things. Case in point, Fork Knife. Disney invested like, what, $4 billion into Epic with the idea that you would be able to create and experience different Star Wars stories. That's what the blog post said. Yet, I mean, since that investment, we've had one battle pass? As it? Like, there's no concurrent live service Star Wars multiplayer game. The last Star Wars multiplayer game came out in 2017. Try that on for size. Think about that. Rehash it. Let's rewind. The last multiplayer Star Wars game came out in 2017 after Christ. What are we doing as a society? We're going on, because the Battlefront came out in what, December? No, December. I got it in December. I think it came out a little earlier. Battlefront 2. It is a great game. Never tell me the odds. Battlefront 2 came out November 17th, 2017. I got it for Christmas. Which is nuts. So cool. Shout out. We've not had a multiplayer Star Wars game since. And the fact that we might be getting a super card for Star Wars, and not even might be. It's confirmed we're getting this card battle game. How it works and the mechanics, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. But hey, we'll make it work. And we will be there. We will be there. Nothing will stop me from being there. Even if I'm dead, I will be there. Just want to point that out. I can't wait. I can't wait. And I really hope that these games come out at a good time, because, man, we are patiently awaiting some positive gaming news, which, if you are a fan of a certain era that rhymes with Bore de Public, you might appreciate these next two news tidbits. Everyone is losing their mind about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, but it came out in recent court filings, of all things. So shout out to the Star Wars nerd who is working clerical for whatever courthouse happened to get these docs. He's like, bro, I gotta tell you about something. You know that KOTOR remake that you told me that I'm an idiot for having faith in? Yeah, dude, it's actually being made. And guess what, dude? They're remaking KOTOR 2, dude. 2? That's pretty nifty. That's pretty cool. So, not only are we getting Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the remake, but we're also getting Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, the remake. Steve in chat, shout out to Steve. Steve, if you wanna hop on here and talk, dude, let me know. Add me in Discord. Steve said that he can't wait to see Krea's wrinkles in 4K. I can't wait to see Rail Your Mom in 4K. That's going to be sick. And if you guys don't know the lore behind Rail Your Mom, auto-generated name in the little name generator thing when you're making a character in KOTOR 2. I have beaten both games. I've beaten the first game with Lark and Dightside. Jesus. Light and dark side endings. I've beaten the second one with the Trev side ending, which is inherently light. But I've not yet completed Rail Your Mom's order yet, because I spent about a game and a half trying to get Baldur to be a Jedi, and it just didn't work. He just wouldn't listen. But be that as it may, I just hope that they know how much that people are anticipating this, and I hope that they do an excellent job. Similarly, in the expectations, we've got Star Wars Jedi 3, which I could talk about ad nauseum, but I want to talk a little bit more about here. Star Wars Jedi 3 is going to be the game of all time, because Fallen Order was such a beautiful game. When you play it on a next generation, current generation console, PS5, Xbox Series X, if you play it on that, on the 60 frames with Cal's hair blowing in the wind, like, different gravy, different level of gravy. Beautiful starting point. If Marin dies, I don't know what I will do with myself. Well, that's the thing. If Marin's dead, you know Cal's right behind her, or right before her. Because I don't think Cal Kestis could live without Marin. You know, once you find that person, that's it. Like, You're bound for life, and I think that those two are bound for life. And that's where, like, I would love to just sit and speculate. So next episode, episode 50, we're going to hang out and just talk about where the story came from, where the story's at, and where we think it could go and where it could be. Personally, like, I think I've talked about my theories here and there, but it'll give me a nice little week to come up with some and conjure some up. But yeah, I really look forward to it. I really look forward to it. You guys know how much I love and appreciate Cal Kestis and those Jedi games, and I just hope that what comes after it is even cooler and even better. Ever since I got the game, someone's gonna be like, nah, we can't have midichlorians and Night Sister Magic mixing, they gotta go. That sounds a lot like Jim Crow 1960s type shit, man. I really want, if I selfishly, right, I want Cal and Marin to have a kid. That'd be so cool. If they want kids, they can have them. If they don't, I'm not going to tell them to have a kid. Not my point. Like, if Marin doesn't want to have kids, she doesn't want to have kids. It is what it is. It would be cool. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, just a lot of different places and a lot of different ways that story could go. And I look forward to it because they're not just going to do these 3 games and call it a day. I think there's tons of other stories to tell. A ton of other point of views to go from. And I think that they could have a little bit more freedom moving forward with such a rich, appeal to authority. Like, this is what we did. This isn't what we want to do. Like, we did this. You know what I mean? If you produce something as goated as the Star Wars Jedi and Star Wars Survivor, like, do what you want. Go crazy. Have as much fun as you'd like, pal. And that's why I really wish that review bomb reviews weren't so aforementioned, because I would love to see just genuine reviews. I'd love to see genuine reviews, because on Steam, Jedi Fallen Order, very positive, right? Because it was super, super positive. You go to Jedi Survivor, which had a lot of hardware issues at release, mixed reviews, mostly positive, right? And that's what stinks. That's what stinks. The dislikes are all pretty much about the PC port, right? So then you say, okay, we'll go check out the consoles. We'll check out the consoles. The console variations. By the way, shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Andrew in the chat. Shout out. You loved Outlaws. Outlaws was sick. We haven't even talked about Outlaws yet. And we'll probably not talk about Outlaws today. And that's not even factoring the grifting. You're telling me. Jedi Survivor ratings. I wish that there was like a site that was real. About rating stuff. And that really breaks my heart that there isn't. It really breaks my heart. Because, like, I'd be pissed if I was writing Jedi Survivor and was getting grifted just because, like, the performance issues and stuff. But you can't win them all. You can't win them all. And that's all right. But yeah, we'll talk more about it in the next stream. Absolutely. We'll talk Outlaws as well. And we'll have some fun. Next up in the news. This is kind of like... I'll go small, medium, large. The small news, February 19th, the 50th anniversary of A New Hope is coming to theaters. February 19th, 2027. The reason why I think it's not in May, when it came out, is because May 27th, Starfighter comes out. And I wanted to pull up the creator talking about Star Wars. Here we go. There's no timestamps in this, dude.
Emotional and narrative reasons why shots are done. Like, they're not
so many times in a theater, more times in a theater than...
Oh, here we go.
84, 83.
I think so. Consciously became the thing that...
It's such a cliche answer, but it's an extra poignant answer because of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
It was Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was 1977. And I just remember, I mean, I loved Star Wars. I loved Empire. But boy, I must have been somewhere in my adolescence for Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
Is that 84? 83?
I think so. I think it's 83. That's my favorite of the trilogy.
Let me tell you something. People, I have not said this out loud because everyone's like, which Star Wars movie is Starfighter the most like? Which is it the most inspired by? If I'm being honest, I know the cool answer would be Empire.
Sure.
And sort of the inarguable answer would be New Hope.
Yeah.
But it's kind of Jedi. It's Jedi because the combination of theme, levity, adventure, heart, spectacle, somehow that movie just got it right for me. And I saw that movie so many times in a theater, more times in a theater than New Hope and Empire, and it stuck with me. And I will tell you, there's moments on, I know we're not talking Starfighter yet, but there's moments where I'm on set and I feel like that kid is with me in the director's chair. Like I'm there making his dream come true.
It's absolutely incredible. And so we are going to get into briefly Starfighter, obviously no spoilers at all because you are filming that right now, but you bring up something that's fascinating to me. I am a fan of a lot of threes in the trilogies of movies. And for me, Return of the Jedi, which I think is actually my favorite opening of all of the Star Wars films. I love Back to the Future 3. I love Return of the King. Are you like it's? I think it's timing, right? Because I saw Back to the Future 3 before I saw 1 and 2.
Well, it is timing. The truth is, when you're doing a movie, I mean, this applies to Stranger Things 5 too.
Yeah.
When you are telling a story that has the benefit of legacy connection between the audience and the characters, you're sort of like on second base already, right? When I look at like
So that's the part I wanted to, discuss, get into. Man, do you just appreciate when people give a damn? Do you just appreciate when people care? Do you just appreciate when Star Wars fans are writing Star Wars? Can you believe that? I really look forward to Starfighter. It comes out in May 2027. And I think that's the reason why I got the 50th anniversary bumped up 3 months. Because Star Wars came out on my dad's birthday. On his sweet 16. May 25th. 1977. Rest in peace, Dad. Wish you were here. And that kind of brings us into the next tidbit that will be more of a discussion point as well. And it's from David Corenswet himself. David Corenswet, this is a Star Wars The Archives podcast exclusive. David Corenswet, who was my first Superman. I never saw Superman, and I think he killed it as Superman. David Corenswet was so goddamn good at Superman, but he says that his dream role is to be in a Star Wars project, specifically as an X-Wing pilot. The issue with that is, Mr. David Corenswet, is that you're Superman, brother. And for me, I think that there are times that you can be a little bit, like George Lucas couldn't cast Michael Jackson as Jar Jar Binks. But even then, like, there are some big names that have been in Star Wars, and more recently, right? I think prior to like Peter Cushing, Sir Christopher Lee, Alec Guinness, Samuel L. Jackson had been in a lot of things up to that point. Ian McDiarmid, excellent actor. None of those guys are Superman, though. You know? Like, Chris Evans can never be in a Star Wars film. He's Captain America. Robert Downey Jr. could never be in a Star Wars film. He is Iron Man. And now he's freaking Doctor Doom, whatever the hell that guy is, right? I think that sometimes you're a little bit too big for a role. But David Corenswet's an amazing actor. So here's what I'm saying. Robert Downey Jr., not the best actor in the world. As Tony Stark, right? And that's pretty much all he's been doing recently. I have a foot massager on also. That's probably loud. I'll turn it off. I think that sometimes you could be a little bit too big for a role. And I feel that David Corenswet and how great he was as Superman, and he's gonna keep being Superman too. I fear that he might be too big to be an X-Wing pilot. Not in size, like he's not John Hamm. But he's Superman. Not a whole lot of people get to be Superman, right? You just fear that he doesn't get typed out of roles because he's Superman. You know, you'd hate for that to happen. It kind of happened to Hayden Christensen because he was so good as Anakin Skywalker that it's kind of hard to see him as anything else. And it's kind of the same with Ewan McGregor too. Like, he'll always be Obi-Wan Kenobi. Always. Same with Ian McDiarmid. Like, he will always be the Emperor. Daisy Ridley will always be Rey. Mark Hamill will always be Luke Skywalker. I don't care how great he was as the Joker. He will always be Luke Skywalker. Harrison Ford's different. I think Harrison Ford got lucky to be Indiana Jones pretty immediately after Han Solo. But well, I think Adam Driver's an excellent actor in a lot of other things that I've watched him in. And I think Adam Driver's brilliant, dude. Like, Marriage Story is one of my favorite movies, and he's brilliant in that. But like John Boyega is a similar one. He is brilliant in a lot of other things, apart from just being Finn. Oscar Isaac, he's always going to be Poe Dameron to me, but he's also really good in a lot of other things. But for example, Pedro Pascal. I don't see Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian. He offers the voice, but you know, you can also do this, and I'm the leader of Clan Tico, Mandalore. I want that sword. Give me that sword or die at my hand. I've swam in the lakes of booty, and you have not. I am Joe Byron. You know, you could do that. Anybody could be the voice of Mando. Pedro Pascal's not Mando to me. And that stinks. Like, I wish he was a little bit more involved, but he hasn't wanted to be more involved, and that's all right. So David Cornsweet, I think he could make it work. Issue is, bro, you're Superman, dog. So I don't know if you could just be a lowly X-Wing pilot, but Ryan Gosling, he doesn't really have that one role. He's just a really good actor. He makes really good movies. I'm really curious to see Starfighter. What's up? How you doing, Firelord Iroh? It's been a long time, pal. Welcome on in. I'll give a brief recap if you are just tuning in live to the live stream. So far, so good. We've talked about the new Star Wars collectible card game that just got announced, similar to Supercard. If you've ever played Supercard, we will be there. The Knights of the Old Republic 2 remakes happening. We talked a little bit about Star Wars Outlaws, like Andrew was talking about. Talked a little bit about Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order Survivor, and our expectations and speculation for the third installment. Went over some news. That is that the 50th anniversary of A New Hope is coming to theaters February 19th, 2027, because later that year, in the month of May, Star Wars Starfighter is coming out. And ironically enough, David Cornsweet's dream role is to be an X-Wing star pilot. So shout out to David Cornsweet, who is absolutely amazing as Superman. As much as the Jedi games are peak, you're dying for Eclipse most. Brother, I'm with you. I am just dying to play Star Wars multiplayer with my friends, dog. Whether it's an extraction shooter, whether it's Battlefront 3. a new version of Galaxies, but Eclipse for sure. Eclipse looks so sick. I just don't know why. Like Steve was talking about earlier, I didn't miss it, Steve. Give us an open world multiplayer game with the Jedi engine, you cowards. That's what I'm saying. You loved David as Superman. That was my first Superman movie. That was my first Superman movie, and I loved it, dude. I thought it was so good, and I thought he was so good. And he's such a brilliant actor that I think he could make something in Star Wars work. Whereas, like Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, I don't think that those guys are good enough actors that they could be seen as anything other than Captain America and Iron Man. No, that's not too much to ask for. I want to do it with the lads, the chads, everyone in between, bro. And a Star Wars game where you could create your character just like GTA Online but set in Star Wars, like... No, I'm saying like a game built for everybody, bro. Whether you're a guy, a girl, anything else in between, whatever you identify as, you're welcomed at the table, you know? I want people to have a game that they can play, that they can love, that they can enjoy. And GTA Online is still alive 13, 14 years later, dude. And it's like... It's so simple. Oh, I see. But, man, it's so simple. Like, just make a game where you can role play, you can do anything, bro. Like, just make GTA with a Star Wars skin. Simple as that. After this podcast, I'm hopping on Minecraft, I'm finding a desert biome, and I'm building the town AlsoTeeko. Because I want to, right? I should be able to hop on a game, set something up, be a vendor, be a merchant, be whatever, bro. And just, like, have fun. Holy crap. It's so weird that that's not available. It's so weird. It's very dated. I've seen people play it. It's dated. And there's just no way, shape, or form that I could... Like, you know me, Steve. I'd say 3 things most important to me for gaming. Frames per second. Performance. Graphics. And replayability. / you know... Is it continuous? Is it sandbox, I guess, right? I love sandbox games and I love multiplayer sandbox games I can play with my boys. God, it's exhausting. But be that as it may, I'm gonna have a lot of fun playing some Minecraft. Steve, if you'd like to hang out and watch and give pointers and ideas, you'd be so welcome. Iro, if you would like to come out, hang out, and play as well, very welcome. I think I'm gonna make it into a realm that people can come and hang out and build shit on. But yeah, dude, like, Star Wars is my favorite thing. It really is. It is my favorite thing. And because it's my favorite thing, I decided to write a book for it, as you guys know. What you're about to hear is a pre-recorded interview that I did with my boy Captain. And I hope you guys do indeed enjoy this pre-recorded interview. I'll still be here in the chat chilling, but that's how like, if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, I'll answer it in the chat. Because this is pre-recorded. We did it just before the podcast started. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Also, I want to be here to make sure that it works, like audio-wise and everything. So you might hear a little bit of an echo at first, but I will kind of just be trying to sort that out. I need to open up my stream on my phone really quick. So, pardon the echo that's inevitably going to happen right here.
Let me turn you down first because I forgot about that. It's still up. Can you turn it down? Alright, I'm ready when you are.
Perfect. And welcome everybody. This is going to be the book segment of the podcast. If you guys don't know, kind of weird that you're listening to my podcast and haven't known that I do a book, but I am working on a book at the moment. It is very deep in development. I did some numbers, and we're currently about 500 pages deep with only 7 chapters left to go. And then it'll be done. And I can't wait for that. But today we're going to be getting interviewed by my good buddy Colin, aka Captain Pie, which you might know from videos way back. And for a preface, Colin's never seen Star Wars. He's seen 3 episodes of Andor, and that is about it.
Yeah, I really know nothing about Star Wars.
Yeah, so we are here to talk only about my book, and he's going to ask some questions, get some discussion going, and yeah, hopefully this will be a really good time.
Yep. Well, I'll just get started. So obviously you're writing a book, The Shattered Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just assuming reading and writing has been a big part of your life then, right?
But like, surprisingly, no. I've always been huge on storytelling of any direct format.
Mm-hmm.
I did some professional wrestling for a bit until injuries caught up with me and I didn't want to be in a wheelchair. Did YouTube for a while, video essays, the lot. Reading has always been a big part of my life, but I've always been more of like a physical art kind of guy. And it really wasn't until senior year of high school I took a creative writing class that it kind of sparked something. And again, like, reading has been always massive. I've had incredible English teachers. I've had incredible English professors, and just I realized how into movies and how into writing that I really was around lockdown. And I would bash out some like short stories here and there, some just little ideas here and there, nothing crazy, but just like I'd write songs, I'd write poems, I would write novellas, nothing crazy. Just, I think the longest thing that I ever wrote before this was probably like a 12-page short story. And the thing that made me really want to do this was one of my last electives was a creative writing course in college, and my professor said that I am capable of writing a book, and she would want to see me give it a try. And I did. October 28th, 2022. You and I were in a Discord call for about 3 hours talking about books, talking about writing, and I wrote 16 pages that night. And that was the start of this book. The first 16 pages came from all of that as a culmination. Some of my biggest inspirations, though, like reading wise, To Kill a Mockingbird was,
Of course.
what, the, gosh, I want to say 9th grade English. And that was a really formative one. But as a kid, you'd always find me with a book in my hand. I to this day, I still love reading. And when Star Wars was going through a downtime after The Mandalorian came out, I mean, The Mandalorian, Disney Plus, that all kind of like reinvigorated my love for Star Wars and kind of brought me back to the fandom. And once I was back, you have such a long wait between shows and movies and stuff that you have to fill that gap. And Star Wars has a very vast reading section, so I read some really fun Star Wars books too, and that kind of just brought me into the driver's seat to want to do this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, obviously I was in the call with you that night, but talking about books and writing and your love for Star Wars, it all culminated together in that night. You said you wrote 16 pages to start out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice. I was curious, obviously I know a little bit, but how would you describe the heart of this story of your book to someone hearing about it for the very first time?
The heart of my story would be that family is not always blood, especially when you feel like your blood doesn't want you in the family. And for that, I think the heart of this story is just self-discovery, self-acceptance, and finding out what you want to be, not what you're meant to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Would you say it's a coming of age story or something similar to that?
That's the thing with this book is you start out with the main characters when they're 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to grow up with them up until, I mean, pretty much they're 18, 19 years old at the end of this book. So yeah, I would say it's definitely coming of age. But at the same time, like, we're talking about a very select, a very sophisticated religion that takes into account the hubris of what it is to be a human being very seriously in the Jedi Order. So it is a coming of age story, absolutely. But at the same time, it's very grounded in the sense that pretty much everything that happens in this book happened to me growing up, happened to you growing up, happened to Dick, Andy, Charlie, Joey, Rebecca, Anna. Like, this book goes into a lot of the common qualms that we deal with growing up that oftentimes don't really get talked about, don't really get mentioned in pop culture and media. And that was something that I really wanted to capture, because I think it was you that I was talking to about this when we were playing Minecraft. And it's that, like, our problems when we were teenagers were the biggest problems that we ever had up to that point in our life.
Yep.
And how
me playing Minecraft.
Yeah, and how can I best translate that with these vehicles? So to say it's a coming of age story, like, absolutely is it a coming of age story. Like, these are 6 characters, vastly different ages, figuring out who they are.
Yeah. That's always, I mean, coming of age stories have always been my favorite to read, and maybe it's because I was at that age where I was learning about life throughout the reading process. But you know, it's not just the age or the fact that they learn things. It's the themes in the book that I really love. So I'm curious, to you as the author, what are the most important themes in this book for you?
I'm leaning into a little bit of mythology, a little bit, but
love that.
Some of the central themes, and I've kind of divvied these up with the 3 main characters. Some of the central themes are, you know, discovering who one is at one's heart.
Yep.
How do they become who they want to be, and how do they get there? There's a lot of family in this book, both blood and non, and this book's central core theme is adapting your life with figuring out who you are, self-discovery, and the challenges of teenage boys growing up in a very private, very secluded, very sequestered organization like the Jedi Order. And the trials, the tribulations that come with that, as well as, you know, the very highs and the very gratuitous moments that kind of shape who you are as a man. I think any guy can look back on and really cliff note things that happen to you at any age that you can attribute to why you are the way that you are right now. Now, let's say that your entire life growing up, everyone was telling you what you were going to be, what you're gonna be, who they want you to be. So this book's big theme is self-discovery, in the sense that how do you react when you have the weight of the world and all the expectations settled upon you?
Yeah.
How do you react when you've been given opportunities that other people really had to scratch and claw and earn? And then, on the same token, how do you react when you have all of the above, yet your best friend sees it from the other perspective? So it's a very perspective-based book, and it kind of just shows that no matter who you are, where you came from, your destiny, your life is in your hands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's transition a little more into the Star Wars part, because I mean, that's the biggest part of, at least as I understand it, why you wanted to write this book when you did, is you were looking at Star Wars, you were becoming an even bigger fan than before, and your love for books and writing to translate into story. So I'm curious, I don't know much about Star Wars, of course, but what drew you to focus on like this particular era of Star Wars? Because it's such a big, long-spanning universe and story.
That's specifically why I narrowed down on this point in time, because this point in time is a blank canvas. There really is like there's one book that narrowly touches upon things that are going on at the moment in this book, but that's it. And one of the main characters of this book, Ben Solo, is unanimously regarded as the most interesting character that came from the sequel trilogy, which is episodes 7, 8, and 9. And his backstory is pretty much a blank canvas. And I wanted to bear the responsibility and the weight of filling in that canvas with brilliant, vibrant colors and a structure that not only goes on to appreciate Ben Solo and who he becomes, but also where he came from.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're able to be a little bit extra creative while still sticking to, you know, authentic Star Wars.
Which is like, I'm walking a very rigid line, self-imposed, because I could do whatever I wanted to, and I would probably be done by, I'd be well done by now. The issue is, Star Wars episodes 1 through 6 is, for my opinion, the greatest forms of art ever produced by human beings in mankind history. I think it's not an original story in the sense of what it is. It's a hero's journey. But I just think it's the greatest adaptation, and it's the greatest story that was ever told. That story is in cement. It is dried. It's not going anywhere. It's bedrock. You're not removing bedrock. I could be like a lot of other authors, a lot of other writers, a lot of other storytellers, and manipulate things to make my vision work, rather than respecting the vision and the creation of George Lucas, who this is all his story in the first place. And that's what this book is based on. George Lucas's story of Star Wars and his characters and what I truly think he would love and appreciate after his episode 6. And that's where this book takes place, is after episode 6 and before episode 7. So really, if you've never seen Star Wars before, this is still a book for you, because you're only going to learn. You're not going to be taught. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not here to spew my own jargon. I'm not here to create things that never existed before. I am simply making an authentic Star Wars story in a time period where there's nothing but blank canvas.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you've talked now about like the era and why you did it, especially about Ben Solo and the ability to, you know, as you said, draw your own painting on that blank canvas, if you will. But I'm curious, what other characters that are in the story, how did you decide which characters, both new that you created and established Star Wars created, you wanted to center the story around?
I really wanted to take Star Wars from point A to point B as efficient and fluid as possible. Point A is episode 6, point B is episode 7. So there's established characters in each that show up in both, and there's some that show up in just one of them. How did they get there? What is their purpose? What is their meaning? How do they move the story forward? Where do they lack? How can an original character help in that sense? And that's really where my main character, Nathan Kaiso, comes into play. He is essentially me. He is my vessel. He is me. He is Trevor. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. That is who that character is. Just like Luke Skywalker is George Lucas. You know, he named the main character after himself because that is his story. That's the story that he wanted to tell. And similarly, Nathan Kaiso is me if I had parents, if I had teachers, coaches, mentors that actively supported me and didn't try and tear me down and didn't try and push me in other directions. So at the same time, it's a very therapeutic process to put myself in this universe and have a purpose and have a place. Because one of the core themes in Star Wars is, where is my place in all of this? Like you said, it's a massive galaxy and it's a massive timeline. And my character's specific job is to take point A and get it to point B. And it's been nothing but fun and exhaustion in the same time doing so.
Well, obviously, with it being a character based on you, it's going to be authentic and the tone's going to be nice. I'm curious though, how did you plan on balancing the tone of Star Wars with your own individual narrative tone and voice going into this story?
Really just method writing, getting into the character's shoes, understanding where they're at and what was going on, and asking myself, what different ways would I react to the situation? And I did this with every character, and I assume every character's shoes and point of view and perspectives, realizing what's happened so far in their life, not just in the book, but in their life. Have they made similar decisions? What attributed to those decisions? Would they have done anything differently? And it's really that strength, and I feel my sense of empathy, that I am able to have a good grasp of what people are feeling and how they would address a certain matter. And one thing I've been very, very meticulous about avoiding is self-inserting like any sort of political views, any sort of, ideology views, just because A, I'm not very political, and B, I don't think that that's ever appropriate to do in an IP that's not yours.
Yeah.
This book is purely about being a human being, and my views on the world are pretty effortlessly shown with my character, and it kind of just shows my perspective on how massive the world is, and yet how tiny that we are in comparison, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. I'm just so obviously you're balancing the authentic Star Wars stories and tone well with your own narrative voice, but the character is of course based on you, and the main purpose, as far as I can tell so far, is that you wanted to fill in an empty gap of the Star Wars story with a character that you felt represented yourself. But I'm curious, Nathan Kaiso, your original character, what makes him so essential to the story that you're telling in this book?
Apart from being Ben Solo's best friend, he is the glue. He is the peanut butter and jelly between the slices of bread. Like I said, his role is to take Star Wars Episode 6 and get it to Star Wars Episode 7. That is this character's massive role. And a lot of that, comes from my love and appreciation to Cassian Andor and just how big of a role that he played getting one episode to another. And like I said, it's a coming of age story. I think as a guy, as a young male, some of the more vital experiences and lessons and failures that you can have growing up are typically within friendships. So this is two very like-minded individuals with similar dreams, similar hobbies, similar aspirations that grow up together. What do you think could happen? You know, that's the mystique and the intrigue that will make you want to keep turning the page. Is you don't know how this friendship's going to blossom.
Yeah.
You don't know where it's going to go. And it's not just his connection with Ben. He also has connections with Luke. He has connections with a few people at the academy. I don't want to spoil too much, but there's just ways that, you know, we as human beings operate. And oftentimes that is through, like, what do you say when you're on a date with someone and it's going well? Like, oh, we had so much in common. We had a great time together. I want to see them again. That works pretty similarly with friends. Like, you're mainly friends with people with similar hobbies with you. And I think that's his biggest role, is being that interconnectedness where he ends up.
Obviously, he's centered to the story. He's based around you and your experiences coming of age in your own life. I'm curious, as we step further into the story, how do your personal experiences in your own life affect the relationships that Nathan Kaiso has in this book?
Not as much, because, I mean, they're more so experiences, right? And everyone grows differently. So while a character could be, you know, me when I'm 10 years old, he could grow up and be a completely different individual. Just like if you did 100 simulations of my life from 10 years old onwards, it's 100 different human beings, right? So while I lean towards how would I react in this situation, at the same time, Nathan is his own person. And that's the beauty of it, because, like, you get to know these characters as you turn the page. You feel like you know them in and out, but you can still be surprised sometimes. And that's one of the more fun and rewarding parts of this entire process, is for as much as you learn about these characters, you also learn a whole heck of a lot about yourself. And for me, just that expansion upon empathy has been huge for me, because, like, it really does help me in the day-to-day to just slow down and understand that there's 8.2 billion different perspectives in this world, and you'll never really be able to truly know any other perspective besides yourself. You just have to rely on trust and faith and hope that whoever you come across is also acting out of trust and faith and doing the right thing. And that's some of the core tenets of what it means to be a Jedi. And yeah, man, it's been such a learning process as much as it has been a writing process. And that's been cool, because I feel like there's times where you're doing something just to do something. I'm doing this to learn, to feel, to expand, and just figure out more about myself, but also just more about life itself and the world and how things operate. So it's been a really rewarding process to do so.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, as a big reader myself, I like reading to really like learn about others and like other perspectives that people might have. And I think I imagine writing is kind of even deeper than that, but a similar experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm curious. You mentioned how multiple times about how some of these characters will keep you turning the page, and how you might feel like you know them, but they'll surprise you every now and then. It leads me to a question I do have, because you've also mentioned the beginning and the end of this story point. It's the beginning of it is the end of episode 6. The end is right at the beginning of episode 7. So a lot of the readers are going to think they know certain outcomes beforehand. How are you going to keep tension high and keep readers turning the pages even though they think they know the outcome already?
That's the thing, like, you will know the outcome. You will know the outcome. If you have seen the Star Wars series, you know the outcome. You do not know how they got there. So
yeah,
it's kind of just like a perspective piece. It's like, you don't know exactly how much to appreciate something unless you know really what goes into it, what ingredients were used in it. And that's what gives it the value. That's what gives it the clarity. And there's going to be some surprises. Like I said, it's not what it seems always. I want to really, really dive into that suspension of disbelief and really just captivate people. I want to surprise people, but not like shock people. No, I want people to be like, oh shit, so this is how it happens. So this is why. Oh man. Like, I want people to be speechless. I want people to think. I want to promote free thinking with this book. And a lot of it is going to make things make sense. And this will start to make things right as well.
Mm-hmm. That's
a really good question.
A question I did want to ask as well is, what does this add to the story of Star Wars that you felt was missing originally?
Let's say that you purchase a big old plot of land and you have some really nice, gorgeous architecture, parks, a lake, beautiful pathway, and then all of a sudden there's just a skyscraper in the middle of it. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
This book gives the contrast. It fills it in. It helps alleviate that sore thumb, and it just provides that richness of story that we're deprived of, because these characters, the original Star Wars takes about 5 years. The first 3 movies is about a 5-year window.
Mm-hmm.
The next 3 Star Wars are about a 3-year window. So episode 4, 5, and 6 is about 5 years. 7, 8, and 9 is about 3 years. 1, 2, and 3 is about 14 years. And that's where a lot of the lore, a lot of the richness is really built in between those. And having so much time between, because episode 6 wraps up in about 5 years after the Battle of Yavin, so the year 5 basically. It starts at 0 and it wraps up at 5. This first book finishes at 24, so I have about 19 years to play with, and having that much of a gap to fill, I think it will do wonders, because I'll be honest, a lot of things were done in a negative vein. A lot of things were done poorly later on in the series that this book does a really good job of not just making sense, but making it into something that's like, wow, okay, so I see why that happened now. And that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to heal Star Wars and not just make it make sense, but I'm trying to make it excellent. I'm trying to bring it back to the greatness of what it was. And I know that that's a tall task for my first book, but I know that this story is capable of doing so. And I'm very protective of it. I'm very cautious with it. I'm not doing anything to take liberties with it. Everything is within the realms of the lore. Like, I've done so much fucking research for this. I've spent more time researching than I have writing, just because there are so much, like, it's checks and balances. You have to vet and make sure that everything fits chronologically. It's a massive galaxy. It's a massive timeline. You have to know where characters are at certain points because they might have been mentioned in a comic before. They can't be there because they're actually meant to be here right now. So I'm doing my due diligence to do this for Star Wars fans and for George Lucas.
Yeah, that makes sense. I am curious though. Of course, this is going to have a big focus on Star Wars and be for Star Wars fans, but how do you plan on keeping the story accessible for new viewers while also rewarding those longtime fans?
That's been the thing that I've wanted to talk about most, is that if you've never seen Star Wars before, this book is still for you. This book touches a ton on mental health awareness. This book touches a ton on what it means to be a part of a family, what it means to be a parent, what it means to be a child, what it means to be a student, what it means to be a teacher. I think that there's a character for everybody to identify with, and it doesn't feel forced. Everything feels natural. Everything feels like I want this to feel so immersive, and whether you're a fan of Star Wars or you've never even seen a movie before, like, I want you to still be able to feel alive in this and not be overwhelmed. It doesn't just drop you into the cauldron and say, unlucky, I hope you float. No, this is a perfect book to get into if you love Star Wars, or if you just love reading, or if you just love being alive. And if you hate all three, it's still a book for you, man. I promise. Like, there's no crutches. There's no, cameo crutches. You should be able to greatly understand this and the events and the timeline and what's going on. It's very organized. It's very clear in its meaning, while at the same time providing room for the reader to think, for the reader to have theories, for the reader to have predictions, and to really think, oh, what's going to happen next? Where does this go? Where does this lead us here? Oh, that happened, so that got us here. Wait, no, that can't be, because this happened. So it's really for critical thinking, and it's a very fun story. And I didn't want it to neglect non-Star Wars fans. Because my girlfriend doesn't like Star Wars. My family doesn't like Star Wars. I know a lot of people don't really like Star Wars. And a lot of people don't like Star Wars anymore. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring you back. Because this is the book for you. I'm telling you. This one will bring peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I haven't seen Star Wars. Can't say I'm not a fan of it. I just haven't seen it yet. But I'm excited to read this book nonetheless, even if I've not gotten around to watching it by that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super happy to know it's really accessible for people like me. But I am curious now, of course, without giving anything away, what are you most excited for readers to discover throughout the story?
I think just discover things about themselves too, and I'm more interested in knowing which character that people vibe with personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, there are such different characters, and there are such different personalities that you'll meet. It's a massive story, and I think I'm just most excited for people to hopefully love Star Wars again, and hopefully appreciate that someone who loves Star Wars as much as them made this story. And I hope that people just find peace with it, because whether you're a fan or not, like, I want there to be some sort of self-discovery while reading this too. Maybe even some self-apology, giving yourself some slack for things that happened in the past, and taking those lessons that Nathan goes through, that Ben goes through, that Luke goes through, and applying them to your own personal future.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got time for one more question, if you have one more.
Yeah, I got one more. If you could only say one last thing to readers before they sit down and read the book, what would it be?
That's a freaking great one. I would say follow the characters, in the sense of, no matter how old that you are, put yourself in these characters' shoes and think back to when you were 10 years old, when you were 13, when you were 15, when you were 19. When you're making these tough decisions as a parent, when you're making these, like we said earlier, the hardest things that you've ever had to deal with as a kid, like, remember what it's like to be a human being, and not just this caricature that you have to walk around and breathe in. Like, remember what it's like to have a soul, and feel free to insert your soul into this story too, because the room is there to do so, and have fun with it. Definitely have fun with it. That was a really good question.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it, guys, for the interview portion of the podcast. Appreciate my
Hello
boy
there.
Captain for asking some very great questions, and I hope you enjoy the rest. Enjoy the rest of the podcast, guys. Peace out.